Good morning, RSM Leadership Board. My name is Anna, this is Lisa, Ur, and Lauren, and we are here to provide recommendations on how Rotterdam School of Management can secure its independent position as a research-based business school.
But in order to provide these recommendations, it was required of us, the four of us, to have a closer look at the current situation with this problem. In the past months, questions have arisen around the credibility and transparency of Rotterdam School of Management, and these issues have to do with the fossil fuel companies that are partners with the university itself. And moreover, these issues are important to be discussed because they affect the knowledge and the research the university itself does.
The balance between the private sector goals and societal goals is really important because it has a direct impact on the research and thereby knowledge gained. If we move towards more private sector goals, the knowledge gained is directly applicable for students since it's exactly what they learn in the classroom and also gives them an insight into the industry they may potentially want to work in. However, it has a downside as the knowledge will be very specific to specific parts of the private sector, and this can be a problem since the information gained will be very narrow and potentially biased. With the change to more societal goals, the knowledge gained will be very important for future business schools since it will provide students with the insight into environmental changes and societal changes that are needed in the world. However, once again, there's a downside since the knowledge will be very tailored towards societal gains and students will be limited and not able to do research in their interests in the private sector, and it will limit their knowledge within the private sector and potentially affect their future careers. This is why a balance between societal gains and private sector goals is very important.
Well, as my colleague mentioned, there are quite a few benefits to maintaining these close ties between RSM and its private sector partners. Firstly, the long-term financing would contribute to the continuity of the existence of RSM, and it would also help RSM improve their quality of education within the school. Secondly, it would create more autonomy for RSM and more independence from the government. And furthermore, it doesn't only benefit RSM but its private sector partners by providing businesses with prospect employees from RSM and providing them with more recognition.
However, when looking at the issue from another perspective, there could be quite a few potential risks when RSM fully adopts with the private sector, so it has partners that have to do with the industry in the private sector. For example, as you mentioned before, RSM can really lose or create more autonomy and independence in its structure, but on the other side, if it relies heavily on these private businesses, it can lose it just as well. For example, as Ur mentioned before, the university or RSM in specific can definitely create more autonomy and independence from the government, but at the same time, when it heavily relies on the private sector or the financing from the private sector, it can create more of a power structure which is concentrated on the businesses it partners with. Moreover, the financial performance of the company that we're talking about, or like an ex-partner firm that RSM works with, their financial performance can heavily affect the continuity and the education that the students get in the university. Moreover, one of the risks that is worth mentioning is the commercial education. If RSM complies with the rules and starts adopting with these private businesses, it can start making their education more commercial because the public will know that the university partners with certain companies in the industry, and this could lead to discussions like this one, for example. The final risk that we discussed was that the private sector scandals can heavily affect RSM's image and reputation. So if the ex-company in the private sector happens to have a financial scandal or a human resource scandal or any sort of scandal in their departments, then this will publicly be known and it could lead to discussions.
Taking into consideration these potential risks my colleague has mentioned, RSM has adopted to a new societal mission which can lead to opportunities for it to connect with socially and environmentally responsible businesses as concerns of sustainability rise. Most importantly, it will add to RSM's good reputation.
Yeah, but on the other hand, when RSM adopts its new societal mission, it could always lead to potential risks, and of course these risks are less lenient or are more lenient when looking at the previous ones or previous disadvantages that we mentioned before. However, there are quite a few challenges of living up to the expectations or living up to the promise that RSM makes when adopting these new societal missions that not only RSM has, but a lot of firms from all over the world. Moreover, the limitations towards the spectrum of partners is a common issue or a big potential risk, because once RSM publicly declares that it's following a new societal mission towards a positive change, this could make potential partners less interested.
I will now tell you what we recommend you to do in order to tackle this issue. First of all, create a cooperation between internal and external goals in order to balance between private goals and society goals. Create two boards, an internal board which focuses on the private goals and an external board which focuses on the society goals. Make sure that they're communicating correctly and that all the necessary information is transferred within the boards. The society board, that's the external board, will make sure that the private goals which are discussed and implemented by the internal boards are as transparent as possible to the outside world. It's important to have a clear division between the boards, however, in order to make sure that the partnering companies are less powerful towards the faculty. However, it's possible that there will be issues arising regarding the agency cost theory, as there are two boards between you, RSM, and the outside world. The problem can arise that the boards will work in their own interests instead of the interests of RSM. Second thing we recommend you to do is to focus your partnerships with companies on the demand of future society. It's important to follow the social changes and to look into the future about what you're researching and about what you're teaching your students. To adapt to that, make sure that you're getting your correct partners to be able to implement that, and be selective in who you're taking as partners. Our third recommendation in order to tackle this issue is to limit the power of the companies that you're partnering with by rules. Make sure that they follow a strict procedure to be able to partner with you, and in order to limit their power into the school and into the research projects. The last thing we recommend, it's really simple, don't just teach about it, actually do it yourself as well. If you're teaching about solar lights, for example, make sure that you have it on campus, make sure that you show the world that you can actually use it and that you do use it yourself. Overall, be selective in who you choose as partners and make sure they are aware of the goals of RSM in order to have the objective of both parties in line.
Well, we hope that you will take our recommendations into consideration, and we would like to thank you for your time.